are at Natural Bridges State Park. This is where the monarchs overwinter. And as you can see, we're surrounded by, a eucalyptus grove. And these are the trees that the monarchs hang out in. They love the eucalyptus. So I recently learned that these eucalyptus trees are not even native to the California coast. They were introduced in the 1800s. Yet they have become a kind of a critical part of, the overwintering sites for monarchs. So it's kind of an interesting tension between this push for native plants, but then it kind of comes into conflict when a threatened critter needs those non-native trees for their own, ongoingness. So anyway, here we are. I'm back after 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I came right to this map. And this kind of gave me the idea for my next bike trip. So here's the migratory route. In the fall, Idaho, Washington, Oregon area, going down to Natural Bridges. And they overwinter also in different parts around central California coast. So, the past 2 weeks, I've been really thinking about the trip, really considering, should I do this? Is this real? Is this going to happen? And I found that recording my thoughts the very first day and putting it out there into the world gave a certain palpable quality to the idea that I'm kind of rolling with. And I'm here again documenting myself, just talking, because maybe this documentation itself will become, these ideas that I talk about will become more likely to be real in the near future. So, this is what I'm envisioning. I'm envisioning my entire September being a bike ride from northern Idaho to Santa Cruz. So northern Idaho is at the northern reaches of where milkweed grows and where monarchs have been known to migrate. And the path is I Google mapped it. It's about 1,200 miles, and the path I am thinking would go through Oregon, Washington, Nevada, and through California to Santa Cruz. And after doing some research, I'm developing these plans based on research that has been done on this migration. There's a lot that's unknown in terms of what particular route they take. So what I'm doing is I'm planning the route based on what I've been told by a U.S. Fish and Wildlife expert was that the monarchs like rivers. They like riparian, ecologies. So I want to plan my trip to, I want the route to go as close to rivers as possible. And with the planting of milkweed, that makes a lot of sense, because I'll want to water the milkweed, and wouldn't it be great to have a whole stream or river there, so I could just take the water and water the milkweed right there, without having to carry, water that's very heavy on my bike. So that's the general idea. Follow rivers. Um, the other concern, or the other thing that is informing the route is what roadsides are not going to be mowed over. What roadsides are not going to be infected with pesticides from nearby agricultural fields. This is a concern that I learned about in this monarch webinar that I attended from the this speaker Emma Pelton, who's a really fantastic monarch expert, was talking about how milkweed on the roadside, it doesn't even have to be sprayed directly with pesticides, but agricultural fields, the wind blows pesticides on these milkweed, and it 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 kills monarchs. So it's not enough to just plant milkweed wherever, because the conditions may not be right. So I have to really research what are the spots that are most feasible for milkweed to survive. And so the route is kind of in development, but I'm thinking northern Idaho, there just happens to be an Amtrak stop there. So I'm thinking of taking the Amtrak all the way to northern Idaho and then biking all the way back down. Now that's the fall migration, right? What happens in the spring? Well, the spring migration is different because there's in fact 4 generations. As you can see from this map, there's actually 4 generations that travel in the spring. And the monarch that travels in the fall only gets maybe travels a few hundred miles, lays eggs on a milkweed, then dies, and then the next generation takes on that path. So, in the spring, I'm imagining I'm still that fall monarch that is overwintering in Santa Cruz. In the spring, I just partially go back. Maybe I cross California to Nevada, right? And then I pass the baton on to someone else, to other collaborators, to local people who might want to check up on the seeds that I planted in the fall. So what I like about this idea is that it's much more than my last trip. It's gonna require a close collaboration with other people, local people, maybe other cyclists, who want to take on this project. And I just like that idea, just because it becomes more about the planting of the seed than my story. One thing, yeah, that's just one thing that excites me about this kind of collaboration, that it can just be much larger than just my story about planting milkweed seeds. No, this is a project that is a collective effort at a time when the Western monarch population is at historic levels of. I mean, they did the Thanksgiving monarch count, I think in 2019 or 2018. 28,000 monarchs. That's the lowest count ever recorded. And there used to be millions. The the percentage drop from the 80s in the Western monarch in particular is 99%. The Western monarch is approaching extinction. So this is what I kind of was reminded of this in the webinar, and I realized the immediacy of this idea. I mean, I have to start this right now. This is the time. It cannot wait. The monarchs cannot, continue to have their habitat they cannot continue to have precarious habitat situations on their path. So anyway, if oh, okay, all right. So the other kind of inquiry is, how do I incorporate music into this project? Well, you remember in middle school, the science fair, someone would always do playing music in front of plants, right? Well, what if I did an experiment where I played music for the milkweed, and I did research on what music, what tones can really help the milkweed have a fighting chance. So that's the research that I want to do. So, to be continued, but if anyone has any ideas or wants to collaborate on this, let's do it.